I can't even. I don't even have words. I literally have no words.
But right now, this entire contract proves, and the contracts that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin have signed from day one have proved they're out of touch with what reality is with the Vancouver Canucks. We are a bottom 10 team that are acting like we're a top 5 team. What I go like,
you can't. You literally can't trade everyone. That's such a stupid concept. That
to me,
so many fans are like, "Oh, we have to trade everybody. Trade the coach.
So 3 minutes ago, you rewind. Maybe this team's not good enough. How do you fix this team then if you're going to keep re-signing these core players?
Well, there never is. You and I have discussed this so many times. The CFL is their own worst enemy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with the Hughes Sports Podcast, HSP.
You stumbled on that.
I did stumble on that. The new intro got me. I am your host, Jake Hughes, alongside me, as always, as I hit the microphone. Kevin, how you doing, old man?
The old man. I'm doing good. Don't call me Kevin. I literally... It's one of those, ooh, don't call me Kevin. You're not allowed.
Yeah, I went to go with old man, and the first letter that came out of my mouth was a K, and I just rolled with it. The new intro got me all over the place.
How do you guys like that new intro? Pretty freaking slick, eh? Good job, Jake.
Thank you. Took a while to get it up and done, but we got there.
There you go. Go. Sorry, I'm turning my I'm trying to see why that went bing. Did you hear me bing?
No, I didn't hear you bing.
Oh, good. Then I won't.
No one heard you bing. You're fine.
Okay.
So,
how's everybody doing? What's new? What possibly could we have to talk about this week?
Well, I mean, the Canucks played one game this week. Then we went on to a bye, and then now it's the All-Star weekend. What possibly could have happened in the world of the Canucks during the 2023 season? What possibly could have happened?
It could have been a trade. Could we have had a trade?
Bo Horvat has been traded. Jeff McCleary, how are you doing today? What are you guys wearing?
What are you guys wearing? Why? Why? No, don't answer that question. No, don't answer the question. Don't answer the question. When old people ask what you're wearing, don't answer. We talked about this.
I was years ago. I was going to bring up that if you want to see me in less clothing, February 10th, I'm doing a live stream on my Twitch channel wearing a bikini because of donations. It's a long story. We're going to get to it later.
That's not needed.
You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
So Bo Horvat has been traded. The return for Bo Horvat, our captain since 2017 on the Canucks, is Aatu Räty, Anthony Beauvillier, and a conditional first-round pick. I know we were texting it as soon as it happened. As soon as I got word, I sent you a message. What were your initial thoughts on the return?
Who the hell is that? And it's Aatu Räty. It's not Ratu.
No, it is Finnish pronunciation, and it is Aatu Räty. Yeah.
Somebody else said that, and I was like, I think they're pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah.
I think the whole world is pronouncing this name wrong. It's Aatu Räty.
You would think so, but the Finns like to mess with our English pronunciation sometimes.
Anyway, so my first reaction was, I get it. They had to get rid of Bo.
Yeah.
For what? A rubber chicken and some stale rice? I didn't know who these people were. Never heard of them before. You sent me something that said Anthony Beauvillier scored 25 goals this season, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm going to pull it up just to make sure.
I believe. And then there was a conditional. I hate that word, conditional first-round draft pick.
Because there's conditions on it.
Yeah, I know. But it's it can be really, really good. Or it could just be good.
Yeah. So this year with the Islanders, who are just outside of a playoff spot, but since the Christmas break, have scored only like 17 goals in 36 games. They've been on an atrocious run right now. But 49 games played, 9 goals, 11 assists for 20 points.
20 points.
Yeah. His best year was the best pace he was on was the shortened year due to COVID in 2021, the no fans era, where he played 47 games, got 28 points. So basically double that. He is looking at almost a 50-point season.
Now, he's playing on a team that obviously, if you look at his record for this year,
yep,
they suck. They're not scoring goals. They're not an offensive team. Not unlike the Canucks, who are very, very offensive-minded. Yep. I think he's just after, obviously, doing a little bit of research after the trade came in. I said, oh, hey. And I also found out, kind of did comparison, and you can compare him to Horvat in years past. If you look at Bo's past years, Bo's having an exceptional standout year this year.
He is, but Bo is also your captain, but also as a centerman.
Yes.
Probably the top centermans that we've ever seen since Manny Malhotra and Ryan Kessler.
But he's been a captain since 2017.
Yes, during the roughest patches of.
What have we done since 2017?
Made the playoffs once, on the back of Bo Horvat. Might I add? He dragged us into the playoffs. He dragged us into the second round.
Did we need to remove Bo and go in a different direction? In my opinion, yeah, we did. If we go back, if we take a look at last year's record of last year's stats, because you're the stat guy.
Yep.
And you look at Bo's stats compared to Miller's stats. Who has better stats?
Miller.
So of course you're going to go with the guy. You got to remember, they're working on these contracts long before they're actually announced. They don't just
100.
Throw numbers at it.
No, but you do have guidelines where you can't negotiate before a certain amount of time. You could. If it's found out,
the team isn't discussing who they're going to put together. You got Jim Rutherford, one of the greatest GMs to be in the league, and he's one of the best. Has he proved it here? No. Has he won Grey Cups?
Has he won Grey Cups? Stanley
Cups?
No. Yes, he's won Stanley Cups.
So he's one of the best. If you're winning a Stanley Cup, you are one of the best.
Yes. No, but he got exuberantly lucky by getting Sidney Crosby. He got a generational talent on his team. If the Canucks do not get Connor Bedard, we are not getting a generational talent on our team. Can he build a team without a generational talent? It's yet to be proven.
Well, I think he's made the first step in going in the right direction, getting rid of the core, as you called it last week.
Yep.
You were saying this core hasn't done it for us. They just haven't worked.
They haven't.
So get rid of the core. And he was our core.
Oh, 100%. He was the core. To me, he was the heart and soul of the team.
I mean...
So you brought up the fact that they went with JT Miller because last year his numbers were better.
Yeah.
So looking back at it, so that 1 year, the outlier year that JT Miller had last year with 99 points.
Yep.
The year before that, he had 46 in 53 games. The year before that, he had 72 in 69 games. The year before that, he had 47 in 75 games. Right. So let's just go back to 2018, 2019, which is where I went back to with Miller. 2019, Bo Horvat had 61 points. 53 points the year after that. The year after that, he got 61 points the year after that, not 33. 53 points in 2019, 2020. 2021, 39 in a shortened season, of course. 52 last year. And in the playoffs, Bo actually scored at a ridiculous 12 goals in 17 games. 10 goals in 17 games. Miller put up 6 goals in 17 games.
Okay, so
to me, the argument of, well, Miller was better last year is a null and void argument. Then why not trade him for his max value? The Jim Rutherford.
I
and
went
Patrick
off on a
Allvin,
rant on you last week. Don't make me do it again. You can't trade everybody.
Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin decided that they thought Miller was going to be regression proof, that he wasn't going to regress the after this year. Now look at this year: 49 games, 44 points. And you can't tell me we're not scoring. We're scoring at a top 5 rates.
Yep.
So
we signed him though. So he's already signed. You can't unsign him.
No, but they made the decision when they signed him that Bo had to leave. That was the decision they made at that time.
Oh, 100%. But they did offer Bo a contract at the number that would work for the Canucks, not at the number that would work for Bo.
And you're criminally underpaying. You're criminally underpaying a guy to play in a team where the media is insane. I love the media and I love the fans, but we are a high pressure media place. A team that's underperformed every single year since he's been captain, not to his fault in any shape, way, or form. They have never put a team together behind him.
Has he been a leader?
Yes. How do you
judge a leader?
He's been the face of the organization. He's been out there for interviews after terrible losses and terrible decisions. When before they fired Travis Green, who did they keep parading out? It was Bo Horvat and Travis Green. Those are the two guys who had to answer the questions that at the time Benning and Francesco didn't want to answer. He was out there. He's in the community donating millions of dollars to charity, doing the Make-A-Wishes and everything like that.
Tons of players do that.
100%
do that. Tons of.
I wouldn't say tons. I would say.
Was he a great player? Is he a great player? Of course,
yes.
He's a great player. Was he good for the Canucks in the position they had him?
Yes.
I honestly can say no, because we only made the playoffs once since 2017.
Look at the teams he played on.
There's been no chemistry on this team. How many times have we watched a game since 2017 together where we're both like, man, they just don't have heart? I don't mind losing. It's been since 1970. I don't mind losing. I just want to see effort and heart. This team has lacked that so drastically for the last 10 years.
So you'd rather JT Miller slamming his stick?
At least he's showing fucking heart. Oops, you didn't.
The guy who slams his stick against the boards and against the glass,
showing some heart.
and then lackadaisically skates back as if he's out for a stroll on the outdoor rink to back check. That's not a leader.
Who said he was? Nobody said he was. You're arguing.
The contract they signed him to states he should be a leader.
No, he's not going to be a captain. I'd be shocked if they
was Luongo a leader back in the day? Did he play with his heart?
Can a whale be a leader?
I know you refer to him as a whale. Was he a leader on our winning teams? Was he out there busting his ass, working hard?
He was, but did he have the C?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Remember, it was a controversial. He had the C on his mask. Did he ever have emotions explode?
Leader. Miller's not your captain.
Then why are you paying him a captain's wage?
Because he's good.
He's not good. He's had 2 seasons above a point a game.
Okay, so
2.
We could go back and forth and back and forth. The people that run the team, I was going to say that know better, but I question that at times.
I question it completely.
The team that they've decided Miller's staying, Horvat's gone.
Which I think is just the
Miller, Jeff McCleary. Miller equals Pillsbury Doughboy.
I can't agree more, Jeff.
I wouldn't say he's a Pillsbury Doughboy. So, has he performed this year? No, he sucked.
Did he perform 2 years ago? No. He's had 1 season he's performed on the Canucks.
Yeah, well,
1.
So maybe he'll pick it up. So now Horvat's gone. Where do we go? What happens next?
rumors are heating up. I've been seeing on the internet and from the experts. Rumors are, things are heating up around Brock Besser being traded. He's struggled here. I think he's a great player. I just don't think he's in a right spot. Yep.
If you trade him, Besser.
Yep.
Jeff McCleary, turnovers galore, you think? Every time Miller touches a puck, I cringe. I'm not defending Miller. Please don't get me wrong. I'm defending the team's decision to get rid of Horvat.
Fair.
So, we trade Besser.
Yep.
What do we get for him? Knowing that we've got two players that have an upside, and we could end up with a top 15 pick.
So before we jump into Brock Besser, let's go through what we got in return for Bo Horvat. Okay. Before we go off on a side tangent, because we're going to forget to come back to it. Atu Ratu.
I'm going to call him Ratty. He's a ratty.
He is a very young player. He's 20. He plays center. He's played 12 games in the NHL only, again, on a very middling Islanders team. Upside galore.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be like the top pick in the NHL draft in his year in 2021, but he had a bad draft year. The season he played in 2021 leading up to that draft did not perform up to expectations. And that killed him. In that year, he played 47 games and only scored 41 points, which was way below expectations for him from the scouts. So he dropped, and the Islanders were able to pick him up with the 52nd overall.
Oh, okay.
I think he's a great piece, because in a year, 2 years, like this time next year, maybe the beginning of the 25-26 season, he will be an NHLer.
Oh, really? You think that, eh?
I think so. I don't think he'll be a great third liner. Like, I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be a solid NHL player on a winning team. And I'm hoping that's going to happen in 2 to 3 years. The way the organization's going, that's the way it is. Now, gotcha. Anthony Beauvillier is a completely other statement, because I believe he has the rest of this year and one more year left on his contract at $4.1 million.
Which really opens up a lot of cap space.
And the Islanders have been trying to trade him for a while.
Right.
He wasn't a first-round pick back in 2015, but just hasn't performed in the regular season. His playoff numbers are fantastic for a second, third line player.
Yeah, exactly. And then the conditional first-round pick.
Yes.
If it's 12, if they finish 13.
So it is what they call top 12 protected. So what that means is if the pick that the Islanders have in 2023 is 12 or better, they get to choose to keep it. So and
then we would get next year's.
If they keep it, we get next year's unprotected, which means even if they get the first overall, it's still our pick.
Right.
So the thought process on that, I've heard from, I listen to Sakaris and Price quite frequently, and they had, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Darren Dreger on.
Sakaris and Price are two of the top sports guys out of Vancouver, just to add that in.
Yes, they very well trusted. They were on the radio for years and years until TSN 1040 shut down, and now they have their own podcasts and are doing quite well with it from the sounds of it. But they, I think it was Darren Dreger that said, if Lou Lamoriello and the Islanders can't sign Bo before the draft, more than likely no matter where that pick is, they're going to let the Canucks take it this year, unless it's number 3. Because I mean, a top 3 pick, there's no way you're giving that up,
right? Unless
you're completely blowing up your team and tanking
for next year.
The next year, the thought process there is that the Islanders, if they aren't able to sign Bo Horvat, they're going to kind of do what the Canucks are doing now and rebuild, do a retool, and they're going to need that draft capital in the coming years. So I think honestly, my first reaction was, what the hell is this? after doing some research, listening to experts, reading up on everything, that this is probably the best trade the Canucks have made in 10 years.
Interesting that you would say that.
Yeah.
Being such a big Horvat fan.
And it has, that's the thing, is it has nothing to do with Horvat. Like, it's 100% the looking at it objectively. We have a player who's becoming a UFA. Do that? Yeah, I know, it's shocking. I don't have to be irrational about everything. But standing back and looking at it, you have a UFA player who's going to get you 3 assets. I don't care who it is. Gretzky was traded. Anyone's tradable.
Gretzky was never traded. He was sold, just for the record.
He was traded.
From where?
From Edmonton to LA. Or from LA to New York.
LA to New York, not Edmonton.
Not Edmonton to LA. He was sold.
Pockleton sold him to LA. I remember it vividly.
And what year did that happen?
Jeez. Had to be mid-'80s? Because I was working for a place called Ad Print Markings in their metal department, and the news came out about 3 o'clock, 3:30.
1988.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
August 9th, 1988.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
He was traded. He was traded.
Really? I could have sworn they just paid cash.
The trade that thought most could never happen. Coming to the Oilers in return were center Jimmy Carson, first-round draft pick Martin Jelena, first-round picks in 89, 91, and 93, and $15 million.
I knew there was money involved.
There was definitely money involved, and I do believe, I don't know who the commissioner was at the time, but I do believe the NHL might be a conspiracy theory or just a theory that I have. The NHL pushed for it to get it done.
Oh, really?
Because they needed LA to survive.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Right? You get a superstar down in LA. It's going to turn a buzz. You're going to get Hollywood out there. You're going to get everyone out there to watch him. What?
It was Ziegler. Commissioner.
I was born the same year that Mr. Bettman took over. I've only known a NHL with Gary Bettman, which is crazy because we're going on
30 years. It's been
years of
just
Gary
over
Bettman.
30 years. A couple days over 30 years that he's been.
Gary Bettman.
And you know what? Let's touch on that just because we're there.
So I put out a poll on Twitter. Being as someone who's turning 30 in a few days, I don't know the NHL without Gary Bettman. So I don't know what it was like before, and I don't know what it'll be like in the future when he decides to either leave or die. Because I think honestly, that's the type of guy he is. He will be at this job until he no longer is physically able to.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he's been there so long, he's got to be doing something right. People need to remember, he's there for the owners.
Yeah.
Not for you or I.
He's got 32 bosses.
Yes. And he's appeasing them, obviously.
He's
been there for 30 plus years.
Or has he ingrained himself to the NHL so much that he can now dictate to them as well?
Everybody's replaceable. Everybody's replaceable.
I think he's replaceable, but I think there's things where he can go to an owner and say, you need to do this, and they're going to listen.
Oh, yeah, because he's been around for 30 years, and he's done a lot of things right.
Like if you look at Vegas and you look at Seattle, they're going to go to Gary Bettman's office anyways and say, hey, we need to do this. How do we do it properly?
Yeah.
Fans might not like him.
Has he made his mistakes? Arizona. Yes. And he won't let it go. Arizona. Yes. Because he's a stubborn old fart. Arizona. Yes.
But look at the rights deal that the NHL signed in the States. Look at the rights deals that they've signed in Canada.
I mean, he came from the NBA. He didn't just come out of nowhere. He wasn't a hockey guy. No. He's a businessman. He knows how to run a business.
And in that, he brought a lot of things that the NHL wasn't doing that the NBA was.
Exactly.
Including this weekend's All-Star game. That was Gary Bettman. When he came in, that was his bringing. He brought the All-Star game to the NHL.
Didn't they have an All-Star game before that?
I believe so, but it was a very different format. They never had like the skills competitions. They never had all the ancillary things to the All-Star game. They would have an All-Star game where it was USA versus or North America versus the world, or East versus West, and it was a one game, 1 day sort of thing.
Yeah. It wasn't the
spectacle that he tries or has made it
is now. Oh yeah, it is. I mean, you look at what's happening down in Florida right now, as you've seen, because I know you watch the Rod Peterson show.
I sure do. A close friend of the show.
And he lives down there in Boca Raton, Florida, which is just a short little jaunt away from where everything's happening. I can't think of the name of the city that everything's happening in. But it's big. It's a big deal. Will I watch it? No.
Oh. Sunrise, Florida.
Sunrise. That's yes.
No.
It's
honestly,
it's all about promoting the league and who you're promoting that league to.
Kids, but also not just that, but the mass American population, the people who aren't listening to this podcast, the people who are going to turn it on and be like, what is this? While they're skating around a rink as fast as possible and doing goofy things in the shootout. The problem with the NHL right now, it's the same problem that the MLB has. What personalities do you have? There are very few people that are big enough to be a personality outside of the NHL. So right now I can think of one.
Next year you'll have another one.
Will he be a personality outside of the NHL?
Dude, the kid is literally selling out. We're talking about Connor Bedard for the people who don't realize who we're talking about. The kid is selling out arenas all over Canada. He literally came to Calgary last night, sold out the Dome. The NHL Flames have only done that 4 times this season in 40 some odd games. The Calgary Hitmen, their junior team, sold out the Dome.
Yeah. No. Don't get me wrong, he's a draw. But like when I think of characters bigger than hockey, you've got Wayne
Gretzky. Well, Bedard is going to be spoken with the same reverence as I speak of Gretzky.
So was Crosby. So was Ovechkin.
Not really. Not in the same.
They interviewed Sidney Crosby at 14. He was 14, and they had already labeled him the next one, and he
wasn't as. Did they change a rule for Crosby? Don't you hate when I use your own shit against you? It actually drives you crazy that I can remember something and then go boop and use it against you in a court of law.
I mean, yes, you're not wrong. They haven't changed any rules for Crosby because Crosby isn't as creative as Wayne Gretzky was.
Who did they change rules for?
So I have an argument against this, but this was my argument to the old man before. Wayne Gretzky had rules changed for him. They implemented a 2-line pass because he was breaking away from people too quickly. And what other rule did they bring in? Instigator rule. They brought in an instigator rule because people were protected.
People were trying to freaking taking runs at him.
But
in all honesty, like yes, a Crosby and Ovechkin, they weren't as on the same level as a Gretzky. Like they were Gretzky's here, they were there.
I mean, Ovechkin,
they were still big.
Don't get me wrong. Ovechkin's pushing Gretzky's record that was never going to be broken.
I hope.
I know me and you don't agree with it, but that's the national narrative. That's the international narrative that Ovechkin's going to play another 17 seasons to be able to beat Gretzky's record. But look,
I don't think he needs 17 seasons, but he's not going to have a season like he's not going to continue having seasons like he is today.
But that's what they keep. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I don't think he's going to beat the record.
Yeah.
But they keep saying that about him. He's 30? He entered in 2005. So add 18 years. So he's 36. And he's still having a season that most NHLers would love to have once in their life.
Yeah.
Right? But
there's no taking it away. What I'm getting at, though, is where were we going? Oh, there's not that one player anymore that stands out Sorry, some of you commented. I'm going to
Yeah.
finish my thought first, Ron. There's not that one player that stands out heads and shoulders above everybody else every single game he plays. Bedard, you got to remember, Bedard came into the juniors. They made a special exemption. They have a rule, a special exemption rule that can, if you're that good, you can come in at 15.
That Crosby got.
He came in at 15 and is tearing the league up. Not just a little bit. Like you saw him play last night.
I did see a little bit, yeah.
He's so much better than anybody else on the ice.
Yeah,
even in the World Juniors, he's that much better than anybody on the ice.
For reference, he came into the WHL in 2021, which was a terrible season to start because he only got 15 games in before COVID shut everything down. In 15 games, he had 28 points. His first full season with no fan, or not even, I think it's a full season, with no fans, 21-22 with the Regina Pats, 62 games. How many points?
So-called God's team. What the hell? Every time they say that, I think, why are they talking about my Vancouver Canucks?
How many points do you think he got in 62 games?
120?
100.
Oh, okay.
100.
I was going
22-23. So 36 games only. Partway through the season, how many points do you think he's at?
He's at what, 50 something, isn't he?
90 points.
Jesus.
He's at 44 goals and 46 assists. And here's the thing, looking at it, he's not a pure goal scorer. He's not a playmaker. First full season with the Regina Pats, 51 goals, 49 assists. This year, 44 goals, 46 assists. He's a phenom who's not just passing the puck to open people and scoring. He's making the goals. His creativity on the ice is insane. He sees the game 12 steps ahead of what anyone else can see.
Exactly.
And I'm very interested to see when he gets into the NHL how that translates, because we know there's a huge jump from WHL to NHL. It's not a small step. It's a huge step.
Huge. And you know what? I have no doubt in my mind that this kid is going to come in next year, step on the ice, and be is it an Uber star? Is that a word? Uber star? Because there's a superstar.
Sure, we just made it up right now.
Yeah, because it's once in a lifetime. It's once in a generation. We see a player like this. He's special. Anybody that says he's not hasn't watched this kid play. He's special, and he's worked his butt off. Oops, you went all blurry.
Whoa, I went all blurry.
He worked his butt off to get there.
So 2005, we just talked about Crosby entered the league. Connor Bedard was born that year.
Think about that.
That makes me feel old because I remember Crosby getting drafted.
Insane. Ron, we're going to get to football talk in just a little bit, and I'll answer.
I was going to say, I was thinking, and unless you've got anything else, that talking about the draft would be a great time to transition to the CFL, because when was this released? This was released January 26th, so
couple days ago.
Just literally last week.
Yeah.
Of the top 20 prospects. But before we jump into that, Ron, appreciate you jumping into the chat and asking a question. We're going to throw it up on here. He knows we're both Lions fans. Are you concerned Butler is not signed and no QBs other than Vernon Adams, who I am not that high on?
Well, I honestly believe that the Lions aren't done yet. I really believe they're going to sign Butler. I'm hoping. What's our owner's name?
Amar Doman.
Very smart man. Very smart businessman. He'll do what's good for business. I think there's a young kid. Everybody's a young kid if they're still playing football in my eyes. That lives in Reno, Nevada, that has stated that he wants to play close to home. He wants to play in the CFL and be closer to home. He doesn't want to play in Regina anymore. His name is Cody Fajardo. And I honestly believe he is leaning towards the Lions. I believe they're not supposed to talk yet because they're not allowed to.
Because the negotiation window hasn't opened yet.
No, I forget when that is.
I will Google it. It's
not. I know free trade, like the free agency is on Valentine's Day, but there's a window that you're allowed. I want to say is it today or the 12th? It had 2 in it.
February
5th. February
5th at noon Eastern time.
I honestly believe shortly thereafter you will see a signing of Cody coming to the Lions. And I don't think he's done at that. I think we've got 3 or 4 free agents that we still need to sign if my February 5th is open to talk to other teams. Exactly. Yes, Ron, that is correct.
So on Sunday, noon Eastern time, so 10 o'clock Mountain time, our time, is when you'll probably start hearing rumors, to be completely honest.
Well, you're going to hear all kinds of rumors before that, unsubstantiated. I've heard all kinds of things that I'm not allowed to talk about. But I'm going to go on the record as saying Cody signs in BC.
Bold claim. Last time we had a bold claim on the Hughes Sports Podcast, it was off by 1 day. So let's see how.
And Dane Evans will sign, because it's important now. Before we get into the draft, is who goes where. Dane Evans, I believe, will be the Riders' next quarterback.
Trevor Harris has also
been mentioned
as he is a free agent right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any way where instead of signing a quarterback, signing a Fajardo or signing someone, you go with VA? You sign a couple backups who you have star potential, and whoever their scouting team is, they're doing a bang up job because they found like a few of the big stars in the CFL the last few years. With Nathan Ward.
Can Vernon be a starter? Sure. I guess he could. I wasn't impressed with his record of last year. I believe he wasn't even at 500, was he?
I don't know.
No, he wasn't, because Nathan went 8-1, and then when we finished 8-5, I think. No, that's not right. He's looking it up, folks.
I'm looking it up, and it's not showing me what I'm looking for. So keep around.
Well, what was look up the Lions record for last year?
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. So Ron's asking, what is he asking? One of the problems with the QB is that Campbell seems to be very reluctant to use anyone other than the number one. This makes Lions unattractive, I would say. Harris too expensive.
I do agree. Harris is probably too expensive. We went 10-6.
Yeah, so he went basically 2-6. Like, he wasn't that good.
No.
Right? I think he went 2-5, and then what's his name came in, and didn't he start?
I think game? The last game. I think he started, played a quarter or something.
Yeah, something like
quarter
that.
And a half.
Something in like that somewhere. So that's my prediction. Cody Fajardo, BC Lions.
Do you see any other signings?
Dane Evans. Sorry?
Do you see any other signings that BC needs to make?
They need to sign. Well, if they're not going to sign Butler, then we're going to have to find a running back.
Yeah.
Right?
I would be shocked if we don't sign Butler if there's not an announcement shortly.
Yeah. I think you'll hear that before the 5th.
It's shocking to me. I honestly didn't know he wasn't signed.
Well, you know what I question? I'm just BC Lions.
I'm trusting Ron. He seems to be pretty good with his facts.
He is. He's a pretty smart cookie, that guy. Pretty smart cookie. Carry on.
Yeah, I was only going to jump into some of the scouting for the upcoming draft. So
let's go there.
On the screen, 1 second, if I can click the right button, on the screen is the draft order for the first round. You'll notice that our BC Lions are not in the first round. That is because we made a trade with Montreal. to get Vernon Adams, and that's the reason we don't have a first-round pick. So the CFL Scouting Bureau put out their winter edition rankings, where a gentleman named Chase Brown from Illinois school. What school is that? The Illinois University.
University of Illinois.
No.
Illinois
University.
Oh, okay. There you go. What do I know?
From London, Ontario, is the running back, and he's been the consensus number one pick for a while.
Oh, really? Okay.
He hasn't moved.
Position? Running back?
He is a running back. Running back.
Yeah.
So 2022 season, he had 1,643 rushing yards, which is the fourth most in the NCAA. 13 touchdowns, 10 rushing, 3 receiving. Average of 5 yards per carry and 10 100-plus rushing yard games.
Wow.
He was a finalist in the Doak Walker Award as a top running back in college. He was second team selection on the official All-Star American teams. He received the 2022 John Cornish Trophy, which is the top Canadian in the NCAA.
Wow.
He accepted an invitation to participate in Reese's Senior Bowl, which is a bowl game that is after all the other bowl games, just for seniors that are.
And it's called the Reese's
Senior Bowl.
It's like the Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yep. I think if the your team wins, they just fill the one of the bowls with it. And that's what you hang up.
I joke because I think they have so many damn cups down there that
they do.
It's insane. So
NCAA draws more fans than the CFL does, and it's super fun football to watch.
It'll be interesting. What I'm going to be interesting to see is if, obviously, we don't see BC's name there, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Do they make a trade for a first rounder?
That's what I was just thinking. With Butler not being signed, do we see a trade here imminently?
Yeah.
Do we see a trade Friday, Saturday, and a deal in place for Butler wherever he's traded to, whether that be the Red Blacks? Red Blacks, if they're looking at taking Chase Brown, would be the target for that. And then you've got a super young running back to build your team around.
Exactly.
The only thing is you're sacrificing probably this next year with a subpar running back.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you can take Chase Brown right now and throw him into the CFL. Even though he is a London, Ontario native, he's been playing the NFL game for 4 years.
Yeah, but I mean, do they need a year to adapt? Do they have to go on the practice roster, our practice roster, for a year?
They don't need to, no. But I'm
saying, like, do you think they need to?
I don't think a practice roster, but I'm thinking limited plays and progressively more throughout the season.
I don't know. If you're good,
there's a lot more than you realize.
He's played Canadian football.
Not much, I don't think.
Well, yeah, he would have played. He would have, if he's from Ontario, he would have played Canadian football through his high school.
That's why I'm trying to speak. I believe I could be wrong on this. I believe Chase Brown moved down into the United States to play high school in the United States.
Oh, okay. That would make a difference then.
And that's where I'm saying it might be challenging. Number 2 pick is a defensive back named Sidney Brown from London, Ontario, also from Illinois University.
Interesting.
59 tackles, 40 solo, and 19 assisted. 6 interceptions, which is first in the Big Ten, which is one of the conferences down in the States. Don't ask me what conference is which. But second in the NCAA with 7 pass breakups, 3.5 tackles for a loss, and 1 sack. That is 100% true, Ron. Andrew Harris. However, Andrew Harris went through a completely different program because he is a product of the Vancouver Island Raiders.
Yes.
He went through the major junior league in Canada to get to the CFL. But yes, you are right. There have been a lot of great Canadian running backs. And again, I don't know if that was a Wally Buono find because that was during the Wally Buono times at BC, but we are the ones who found him. I mean, he did play very close to BC, to Vancouver, being on the island. But Andrew Harris was found by the BC Lions, and I don't know how much of that staff is still around from finding him. it's not like the NHL where everything's so public with firings and hirings and everything like that.
Well, I was shocked, actually. I was shocked, just to touch on that, when you're talking about coaches, that they have a really tight budget, like a cap for their administration. It's very, I got this information from Rod Peterson of the Rod Peterson Show. We had a conversation about it, and it's really quite a tight budget that they have to follow, and thus you see a lot of firings and hirings. When people get to a certain point, they have to drop them.
They have to drop them, move them, and then they move places.
And it's not that they want to; it's because they have to. They can't afford them, and they need to bring in the younger guys because they can pay them less.
Is that why you see a lot of the bigger name coaches become coaches / GMs?
Yes.
Right? Like Rick Campbell.
Because you don't see that in the NFL.
No. Well, you do sometimes. I mean, Bill Belichick was the GM for quite a while. I think he still is, of the Pats.
Oh, okay.
I think that's the first one that jumps to mind.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in the same frequency it does in the CFL, I'll say.
Exactly. No. There's also a lot more money just in period with the NFL.
But when you have your salary cap for your administration, people need to do multiple things.
Yes, exactly. Right? I didn't know that. Do you know how low that budget is, or
I don't know if he even told me a number. Okay. I will look at that and see if I can get that for next week.
Yeah, because that would be an interesting breakdown of we know CFL players don't make that much in comparison to NFL players. It's gotten a lot better since the early 2000s and mid 2000s where they had to also have another job to make ends meet. They're at least most of them are making enough money to play football for full-time, to be an athlete full-time, which is why I think you'll be seeing a huge jump in the quality of play in the CFL. When you allow an athlete to be a full-time athlete 365 days a year, that changes everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, you go back when we lived in Kelowna back in 99, 2000. Who was our neighbor?
I don't remember his name.
McClellan. Spencer McClellan. Yes. Receiver for the BC Lions, a very good receiver, I might add. And he tells a story about them losing in the Western semifinal, and he was an electrician by trade, and his boss literally called him on his cell phone, and right after the game, he was still in the dressing room, and said, "So, are you coming back to work Monday?"
That's insane to think about. Right. And that's something you'd hear in the 60s. You'd think you'd hear in the 60s and 70s. This was only 22 years ago.
Exactly. It's funny. I still get a kick out of it every time I think about it. It's like, yeah, that was fun.
It's insane. So continuing on this top 5 list.
Yeah.
Number 3 is a defensive line. Tavius Robinson from the University of Mississippi. Another Ontario boy from Guelph.
Oh, interesting.
Lots of Ontario boys on this list. I believe in the CFL, you're more likely in the first round to draft a Canadian because Americans are going to try to find a way to play in America.
Of course,
you've got arena football, you've got the USFL, you've got the XFL, and then you've got the NFL, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, Tavius Robinson, I hope I'm saying that right. 2022 with 13 games started, 44 tackles, 7 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. 3 seasons with Mississippi, 90 tackles, so an average of 30 tackles a season, 11 and a half sack, 14 tackles for a loss. Prior to Mississippi, 2 seasons at University of Guelph, where he had 65 tackles, 13 and a half sacks, was a 2018 All-Star, All-Rookie team, and a 2019 second-team All-Star. So this is the type of guy you can, if you draft third, you're plopping and playing because you
can plug and play.
Still familiar with the Canadian game.
Exactly, definitely.
Right? And I think that might give him an advantage over that next defensive lineman, which I'm looking at right now on the list. I don't have in front of me. Where is the next one? Is number 8.
Okay, so we're at number what? 3? Did you?
3. Yeah, I have the top 5 with details.
Number 4.
Yes, is an offensive lineman named Sidi Sow. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I guarantee you I'm not. Is from Eastern Michigan, and is originally from Bromont, Quebec. 13 games started, allowed 2 sacks in 949 snaps.
Wow.
His team finished in red zone efficiency and third down percentages, and second in team passing efficiency. Old lineman, I feel it's a lot harder to get stats that impress. But 2 sacks allowed in 949 snaps, that's impressive.
Yeah. How big is he? What did they give his size?
They don't on that list.
Really?
They don't on the list I'm at.
Okay.
And then number 5 is Matthew Bergeson, another offensive lineman, plays at Syracuse, is originally from Victoriaville, Quebec, was a team captain in 2022, allowed only 4 sacks and 686 snaps, and only penalized 3 times. Offensive line allowed teammate running back Sean Tucker to rush for second straight 1,000-yard season in 2022. And the first player in program history to record back-to-back seasons with 1,000-plus rushing yards and 250-plus receiving yards.
Now, you know what's interesting with that list, top 5? Yep. What's missing out of that top 5?
A quarterback.
Yeah.
Your first.
I was told there was a very massive lack of CFL quarterbacks, of Canadian quarterbacks, that are at the level where they could be drafted and play in any league.
So looking at this list, I have the top 20 with a lot less information.
Yeah.
Not one single quarterback in the top 20.
And there are probably most of them are going to be Canadians in the top 20, you would think.
Yeah.
Right.
For the most part,
you're going to draft. It's a fact. You're going to draft Canadians.
Your first 3 rounds are usually Canadians, or almost exclusively.
Yeah, because it just makes sense. Or is this just the Canadian draft and then they have a U.S. draft? Are we missing something?
No, I don't believe so. No. They have no. It's not like the MLS, the soccer league, footy league in North America, where they have 2 different drafts.
Oh, okay. You're funny. That's out of my head.
They have the super draft, which you can draft foreign players to a negotiation list, and and then they have the regular draft where you can just draft the national players.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. Quarterbacks are hard to find, and even harder to find if they are Canadian. Other than Nathan Rourke, when was the last time we had a great Canadian quarterback?
You got me.
Ricky Ray and Anthony Calvillo.
Ricky Ray from Canada?
I don't know why his name jumped to my mind.
I'm thinking he's not, but I could be.
He is an American. What about Anthony Calvillo?
I don't think so. And you know what? I mean, that just tells you.
He's born in Los Angeles. Yeah, no,
There's it's unheard of to have a Canadian QB. I remember. Ron says no. Ricky Ray was California. I can't think, and I followed the league pretty close. I can't remember another Canadian quarterback. There was one up in Edmonton this year. Was it Edmonton? Because there was 2 Canadian quarterbacks starting, and they said it was like the first time in blank years in modern history that's actually happened.
Also, Ron in the chat, I appreciate you for hanging out and chatting. Canadian draft only. U.S. is all free agents, but you have to have the U.S. players on your negotiation list.
Yeah, see, I thought so.
It is only a Canadian draft.
Yeah. U.S. is all free agents. Yeah.
But you have to have them on your negotiations list. And
right.
I'm sure there's a process to that. Michael O'Connor, but he hasn't really had a chance as the other Canadian quarterback.
And who does he play for?
Edmonton. We already said that.
Yeah.
So.
There you go.
I can breathe.
That
was a lot of words. That was a lot of words and a lot of research I had to do tonight because someone at the last minute decided he didn't understand
Who is that?
everything.
Who is that?
I don't know who it could be.
Who is that? Why? Who? When? Why?
Today at about 4:35 as I'm driving home. He was with the Lions, but it looks like
so
he won't
Connor.
resign.
Yeah, I thought so. I didn't want to say that. I was waiting for Ron to pipe up because I know Ron's a huge Lions fan, almost as big as a Lions fan as I am.
Does he
doesn't? He doesn't have a cardboard cutout of Louis Pasaglia like I do.
How'd you know I was going to ask that?
Because when we talk about fanhood, you gotta go all the way. I'm gonna bring him up. I'm gonna just put him right over here for every show, right in that area. What do you think? Have Louis stand there?
Sorry, what sort of motion were you just doing with your hands?
Right there.
You're gonna do. All right then.
What are you doing?
If you're listening on a podcast, please do come back and watch even just the last 5 minutes of the YouTube show, because I'm pretty sure the old man is trying to fondle some imaginary Louis Pasaglia cutouts on stream. Used to work at BC Place at Lions games from 1990 to 95.
Nice.
I was barely alive during those times.
That was back when they used to get a good crowd at the BC Place. See, I'm so old, Ron. I remember sitting in the, we used to go as kids. We used to, if you had 3 old Dutch potato chip bags, just a single individual serving bags, you could get in free to a Lions game. And they used to have a grass hill you would sit on underneath the scoreboard in the north end zone. And we went to every game. We sat there in every game. It was awesome. It was so much fun.
That's wild. That is wild to me that you could just get in with bags of chips.
Well, you didn't have to give them the chips. You ate the chips. You just kept
but you just need the bags.
Yes.
So,
and you needed 3.
Yeah, I get that. And how much did the bags cost? Like 10 cents a bag?
Oh, probably 5. Like, it wasn't expensive. Maybe 10, 15. Who knows?
So we touched on it at the very end of the intro there. What can the CFL do to bring viewership back, in your opinion?
Whew. I think I've got. I don't know if I was on this show, or it was just you and I yakking. It drives me nuts. Absolutely drives me crazy that the teams don't support the local media. And when I say that, we live here just outside of Calgary. I have season tickets to the games.
Yeah.
There's no coverage to anything of the games until the day of. And then it's 2 hours prior to the game, maybe 1 hour, sometimes not even that. Why don't the teams say, you know what? Here's 5 players. Every team, every week a home game, put 5 players' names out to the media so the media has somebody to interview and talk about the games. Hype the game up. Come on. You look down in the States, it's NFL all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
You don't do that here.
No, you get
besides
your
us, name another podcast that concentrates on the CFL.
I can. First and Roar, I believe it's called. So it's a podcast that's solely BC Lions focused in Vancouver.
3 Down Nation.
3 Down Nation has one. CFL supposedly has one. I've never heard it. I've never seen it. There's no marketing behind it.
None. 0. Find an app for the CFL.
Oh, it's garbage. The thing is it takes such minimal effort to update things.
Oh.
They need to get, again, I know you said it before, they need to get out of this TSN contract. I know it's good money for the league and it's good money for the players, but this contract that they're in with TSN is not great. Yeah, there's a blog
there's a
page called
blog
BC
page,
Lions
yes.
People.
Yeah.
But there's no podcasts.
Exactly. Thus, when Jake and I talked about it, we're like, Jake has always wanted to do a podcast.
Oh,
so when we talked about it,
but let's rewind. Before podcasts were a thing, coming out of high school, what did I want to do? I wanted to go into radio.
Yes.
I applied for radio broadcasting. I did not get into the program. All sorts of issues with that. But this is where radio's going. The BC Lions are aired on BNN, Business News Network in Vancouver. There's no radio coverage of the BC Lions in Vancouver. Sportsnet 650, I'm sure, covers a little bit, but why would they? They don't hold the rights.
Don't they have play-by-play?
Yeah, they have on BNN 1040. That's it.
Oh, really?
Business News Network. They cut into their business news for the football game.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of BNN 1040.
It's not BNN 1040. Sorry, I'm thinking TSN. It's BNN. I can't remember what it is, but it's on the Business News Network.
Used to be CKNW carried it.
Yeah, and then Team 1040 started, and Team 1040 took it over. Team 1040 was bought out by TSN, and then TSN fired everyone. That's why Sakaris and Price have their own podcast.
Cool.
There's no coverage of the CFL. It drives me nuts because the game deserves the coverage.
Well, it's the best. I think the best sporting bang for your buck out there. Yep. I just renewed my season tickets, 55-yard line, 5 rows up at the Empire Stadium. It's like Empire Stadium because it sucks. McMahon Stadium, and it was under $2,000 for two seats.
Tickets. It's insane.
And when I say 55-yard line, I'm literally straddling the 55-yard line.
There have been times where we go and there's 4 seats altogether, with Allison's sister.
Yeah.
And there's arguments on who's actually on the 55-yard line between those 4 seats.
Yeah.
That's how close you are to the 55-yard line.
And it's under $2,000. It's like $1,700.
But none of my friends care about sports. No. Most of my friends don't care about sports. And if they do, it's passing interest in the CFL, mostly NHL.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what's played a lot, what's played more, what's talked about more. It's ridiculous. But we have run out of time somehow.
We have gone overtime.
Which, you know what? It's our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
We didn't. Not one time did we use your beep button except for there. And with all the other sound effects that you were showing me beforehand.
Oh, yeah. No, I closed all of those because I didn't want to be accidentally hitting them while you're trying to make a point or something.
Well, that would have been like, those were, you got to have these sound effects.
Baby steps. Baby steps. Baby steps.
I love that.
This time to say goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or if you're listening to us on any of your podcasts platforms. Please do like and subscribe on YouTube, on whatever platform you are. If you can review, please do give us a 5-star review. It really does help. I know it seems silly, but the algorithm really does love it when we get those dupes. We also have a brand new Facebook page, which is Hughes Sports Podcast, HSP. You'll see our beautiful faces that you can see up in the right-hand corner if you're watching the video. Twitter, HSP_pod. The only thing we really don't have at this point is TikTok and Instagram, and those both sound exhausting to me because I work a full-time job.
And I ain't doing it because I don't get it. I look after Facebook.
So,
that's my job.
He looks after Facebook. 5 candidate announcing next week, Kevin, says Ron. Whatever that means. Everyone, that's the final word of the day. That's the final word of the day. We're moving on with our lives. Have yourselves a wonderful week, and